Imagine your world without Google, as in you don't have a place that you can refer to if you wanted a quick answer to some questions. Imagine that. But thank God there's Google all the time. If you wanted to find out the temperature in Timbuktu, you just Google. If you wanted to find out the 48th president of the United States, what do? You just Google. It seems as if Google is ubiquitous and is kind of not short of any answers. But I'm here today to discuss one of the biggest impediments, one of the biggest shortfalls of Google, and it does affect you and your life purpose. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Life Signatures podcast with Lawrence Namale. Lawrence is a life coach, author, and keynote speaker who loves to tackle different topics on purpose, productivity, and resilience. His mission in life is to awaken all your boundless possibilities available in you. Life Signatures podcast is dedicated to bring to reality every single person who knows that deep down in their gut, there's got to be more to life than this. And now, here is your host, Lawrence Namale.
Some time back, my family and I were living in Ghana, and there's this guy who was asking my wife some questions about Uganda. Even though she did not know some of those answers, she did not want to tell this person that I don't know. So what did she do? She Googled. And guess what? By the way, the word Googled is no longer being underlined in red these days with Microsoft Word, because it has become universally accepted as one of the ways of asking questions. If you go to your Microsoft Word and you write Googled or even Google, it's become accepted. That's the extent to which this big technology has come, to such an extent that it is universally accepted. So she Googled, she got the answers, she fed back the answers to this guy, and he was impressed. And he thought this is a genius. And of course she is. And then he asked up a follow-up question, and she didn't know, and she Googled again, gave this guy an answer, and he was like, whoa. So she did not want to tell him, why don't you Google that thing yourself? Because she wanted to maintain the genius in his mind. And of course she is a genius. But without a doubt, one of the greatest revolutions on the internet, immediately after chat rooms, if you guys can remember chat rooms, and if you guys can remember the forums we used to be at, the biggest revolution that we got was Google. When Google came, it became so, there is not a single day that I don't remember. I don't remember if there is a single day the past week, even the past month, that I didn't go to Google to find out something. I'm always in there trying to ask for some questions, get some answers. So why do you think Google ranks up so much? Why do you think it's one of the biggest conglomerates, the biggest companies, the biggest institutions in the world? It is because people are always in the asking mode. People are always looking. People are always looking for something. Apart from money, you know, if you go to Google. By the way, did you know if you even went to Google and you asked, how can I earn $1,000 in 5 minutes? Google will give you answers in 0.2 seconds. If you ask just about any question, Google will give you an answer, because we are people who are always on the lookout. If you forgot what my URL is, if you forgot what Life Signatures podcast, the location where it is, what do? You go to Google and you just type Life Signatures Radio, and voila, it gives you a choice here and there where you can find this information. It is an absolute, and it's just a beautiful thing. And the thing is that sometimes we do take these things for granted, not knowing that just a few years ago we didn't have this Google thing. Few years ago we did not have access to information just like that. And by the way, there's a time I wrote, at this time I did a podcast about firing all the teachers, because teachers traditionally used to be the custodians of information and knowledge, and they will come to class with books and they will pump this knowledge into us and so on. These days, I'm telling you, you gotta up your game if you're a teacher, because it's no longer just an issue of information, because you can gather information just about anywhere. What is mitochondria? I go to Google, voila, in 0.02 seconds I got 10,000 links that I can click on and I can get relevant answers that I want. I mean, it is an absolute stunner, and we can easily take it for granted. However, with all these wonderful value-adding benefits of Google, there is one thing that Google comes short of, and that affects you and that affects me. But don't bet on it. It still does try as much as possible to get as close to that thing as possible. They still try as much as possible to bridge that gap, and I will tell you what that gap is. However, look at this. Look at it this way. See, before Google came, you and I must have been people who are always seeking to find answers, people who are curious, people who want to know. We must be people who have this insatiable searcher inside of us, because Google serves people who ask questions. And the problem with Google is that it cannot force you to have the attitude of curiosity. Google cannot force you to have the attitude of a researcher, someone who is a seeker, someone who is an asker, so to speak. That is where the biggest problem is, because if you are not going to be curious, Google is useless to you. But if you're going to be someone who is asking questions, and this Google, I'm going to put it in quotes from now on, because in life, questions are answers. In fact, just the same analogy where we are saying that these millions and billions of answers in 0.02 seconds about anything in life, that is the same thing even without Google in life. You want to know how to make $1 million? There is an answer if you have the question. You want to know how to make mattresses? There is an answer if you have the question. You want to know how to be a good husband? There is an answer if you have the question. You want to know how it is that you can become a good father? There is an answer. The only difference is that you must be someone who is seeking, someone who has the question. But the problem is that people are always asking the wrong questions. Why was I born? Why was I born like this? Why didn't I die in my mother's womb? Why is life such a hard thing? Why is life so miserable? Okay, those answers are not, those questions are not that empowering that you can be able to ask. By the way, you can even go to Google right now and ask that question. Why is life so miserable? And I'm telling you, answers are going to come in 0.02 seconds. And we have this other app. It's called Quora. I love Quora because with Quora you can go there and you can answer as many questions as possible, and you can also ask as many questions as possible that have been categorized. But I'm going ahead of myself. But granted, some of the questions that we do ask must be asked at some point in our lives. But then we need to distinguish between empowering questions and disempowering questions. If you ask, why me? That is not necessarily an empowering question. The answer that is going to come from it, if it does come at the end of the day, is not something that you can use to make your life better. Okay? So the most important question that I want to ask, I want to believe is the most important question we need to ask today. I believe that one of the most important questions that you could ask is this: what is my life purpose? Why am I here on earth? And this one you're not necessarily asking to Google. By the way, even if you go to Google to ask that question, chances are that Google is limited enough to give you the right answer to that question. It is that important, okay? You know what? Google has answers, some of them, to that question. But the answers that Google gives you might not be as relevant as you needed them to be. Google will help you to get links to websites, links to coaches, links to videos, audios, and all those things that can help you to be on the path of unearthing what your purpose in life is. But Google will not help you if you are not a seeker, if you are not curious. But I get amazed, I get surprised, I get bewildered, when I see hordes of people who are remotely interested in the subject of why they are existing, in the subject of their life purpose. This, in my estimation, should be one of the questions that all of us, whether high-born, low-born, whether educated or uneducated, this is a question that has an answer for all of us who are going to ask. Because I believe that there is no one who has never been, there is no one who is useless. And I believe there is no one who came on the face of the earth to do nothing. All of us, I believe, have a purpose, have a meaning, have a destiny. And we need to start asking relevant questions concerning that. And by the way, like I said, you're not going to get an answer as far as your destiny, as far as your purpose, as far as the life of meaning is concerned if you do not ask. The Bible says, ask and you shall receive. And it says you do not have because you do not ask. Chances are that you do not know what your life purpose is because you're not asking. You need to be a seeker. But you see, life is a very interesting proposition because not everyone, even if I'm saying that everyone has a life purpose and everyone should be passionate about it, not everyone, I've discovered, not everyone is passionate about these things in life. What I've realized though is that if you walk down the streets and had a passion for improving the lives of the street children, for example, you will find out, just like I did years back, that not all of them want to get out of that street. Not all of them want to be helped. This shocked me. And I remember what Jesus said. He said, the poor you will always have with them. You cannot help everyone unless they want to be helped. And I think that same thing applies to God also. Unless you have this desire to be helped, to be assisted, you cannot be helped. I mean, people will just be wasting their time. The nucleus of you getting help must come from you. The reason for you being helped must come from you. And the same thing with your life purpose. But life purpose, why would someone not be passionate about it? Why would someone not be a seeker of their why, to know why they are in existence? You want to tell me that there are people out there who will never stop at any one instance in their lives and ask, why am I here? See, one of the simplest, yes, most profound commands we were given is ask and you will receive. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. But unfortunately, when it comes to life purpose, you might not get the answers you seek in 0.02 seconds from Google. Instead, the following things you need to put them into consideration. Number one, there's gotta be some desperation. I think there's this story we are told of someone who was being coached by a mentor, and he was asking questions upon questions and probably asked a question about how can I become successful. And then this guru, this mentor, took him to a river and held him by the head and forced him inside that river and held his head down. Initially, this guy thought that the mentor was kidding and so on. But when he started losing some air, he started struggling and getting desperate. And then the mentor said, you're gonna be successful to the degree that you are that desperate, wanting air. So how desperate are you and I in terms of knowing our why, knowing our reason for existence? How desperate are we? How passionate are we about it? Because just like gold just like silver, just like coal, just like every precious metal that is out there. Your purpose is not just hanging around the surface to be dug up. No, it is a treasure that needs to be sought. And for you to seek it out, you need to be desperate about it. It is not something that you go to Google and say, what is my purpose in life? Enter. And then in 0.02 seconds, you have gazillions of links that give you the answer. No. You've got to apply yourself in it. It has got to come from your heart and from your spirit. And then the second thing that you need to have is this consistency in the seeking, because you'll ask today. This is my experience. You'll ask today, and you're not going to get the answers today. Probably the answers will not come immediately apparent. But that doesn't mean that the answers are not there. It doesn't mean that you give up on asking after all. No, you've got to become consistent and persistent in seeking to know the answer. You asked yesterday and the answer did not come. It doesn't mean that today you shouldn't ask. It doesn't mean that tomorrow you shouldn't ask. Keep asking until one day it will be opened up to you. And then number 3, promptness in taking action. If you want to know what your purpose in life is, promptness in taking action. Sometimes there's these hints and they are going to be coming into your life. This hint, probably you should do this, probably you should do that. Just take action. I have found out that you're not going to find out the reason for your existence while stationary, while doing nothing. The other day I told you on this podcast that one of the guys who was anointed in the Bible, David, he was out there doing something while his brothers who were overlooked were at home doing nothing. So you've got to take action on something that maybe has been resonating in your spirit, resonating in your heart. Do you feel like you need to start writing a book? Do it. Do you feel like you need to start going to talk to children? Do it. Do you feel like you need to organize a camp for whoever it is? Do it. Take action. You're going to know what your purpose is in motion while you're moving, not while you're sitting, waiting for the heavens to be open and God calling your name and telling you in A up to Z what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do, with whom you're supposed to do, for how long you're supposed to do, with what. No, that's not how it operates. It operates gradually as you're taking action. And number 4, relentless refining and clarifying of your purpose. That means that when you take action today, you're going to get some refining needing to be done, because you will figure out that, wait a minute, I need to do it this way, not the way I did it yesterday. This is the feedback that I got when I took the action, so let me now adopt this. And that's what we normally do. When I started this business that I'm doing right here, I didn't start it knowing what I'm doing. I started it with what I had in mind at that moment in time. And right now, it is over 60 countries that are accessing my inspiration and my motivation. And I didn't have that idea initially. I have kept refining. And even as I speak to you today, there is great need for me to keep refining myself and drawing closer and becoming sharper and sharper, dropping as many things as possible and concentrating on the very few that are connected strongly to my purpose. That's the 4th thing that you're supposed to be doing, refining over and over again. And then the 5th thing, you're supposed to be relentlessly connected to men and women of like passions. Men who are speaking your language, men who are passionate about what you're passionate about, or men who are passionate just by themselves, passionate about their own purpose. You know what it's going to do to you? It's going to enkindle this thing and fire you and flame you once again to continue knowing the answers. And then number 6, you got to be reflective, meditative on a daily basis. Let me tell you, you sit down on a daily basis, take 30 minutes away and ask yourself the reason for your being, the reason for your day, why you're existing today, the reason for your relationship, the reason for the money, the reason for the project, the reason for the job, the reason for the work that you're doing. There's got to be a why behind it. And it's going to come when you are reflective, when you're asking, when you're meditative, when you're prayerful. Answers come to those guys who have a conducive environment in their mind that is asking, and conducive environment in their mind that is ready to receive. And if you are ready to receive, you are someone who is asking, not only asking, but you're someone who is reflective, meditative, inquisitive, and prayerful. That is number 6. And then lastly, you've got to have some gratitude for what you have accomplished so far. See, people normally look at things they don't have, places they haven't gone, things that they are not yet accomplished, and they negate the fact that they are alive today. They negate the fact that they have some things that they have been able to do. They negate the fact that there's some places they've been able to go, and they are not grateful anymore. And so there's this aura that is just around them of lack. The aura of scarcity is what they are existing in. But then when you have this abundance mentality, somehow, somewhere, this contentment mentality, somehow, somewhere, it is a conducive environment for you to realize that your question for purpose is just about to be answered. So those are the things that Google cannot help you with. You cannot be helped by Google to discover what your purpose in life is. Google will give you the links, but I'm telling you, it is a process, and you've got to be involved in the process. You cannot send your son or send your wife or send your employee to help you in this. Gotta do it yourself. Just like they normally tell you, you never do press-ups and then someone push-ups and then someone else is the one who is benefiting from them. You benefit from your own push-ups. You benefit from your own sit-ups. You benefit from your own planks. You benefit from your own exertion. That's what I'm saying. And Google is not necessarily going to help you have that spirit, have that zeal, have that consistency, and have that passion. You gotta do it yourself. So if you're asking what your life purpose is, number 1, be desperate. Number 2, be consistent in seeking. Number 3, be prompt in taking action. Number 4, be relentless in refining the actions that you're taking on a daily basis. Number 5, be reflective on a daily basis to ask why you're doing the things that you're doing. Number 6, have this relentless connection with men and women of like passions, people who are passionate about their own life purpose. And then finally, be someone who is grateful always. I hope this makes sense to you. Thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned for the next episode. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Life Signatures Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to Life Signatures Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or visit our website at lifesignatures.libsyn.com. Life Signatures Radio, fresh, clean, and inspiring.